For all the people that they don't know me, I am Claudia. I'm a nutrition and dietetic clinician specialized in eating disorder recovery from food and exercise obsession, and obviously hypothalamic amenorrhea, pregnancy, fertility, and women's health. And today we are really gonna dive deep into the topic of why some women can exercise and recover the period and I can't, which is something that lots of women struggle with, which is why I really would like to unpack this beautiful and very powerful topic by starting with the reasons of why it is important to really prioritize rest and relaxation during the recovery period. There are really 6 reasons that I can think of. So the first one is energy imbalance. So many cases of hypothalamic amenorrhea are linked to an energy imbalance where the body is not getting enough calories to support both normally bodily functions and the energy demands of exercise. So intense or excessive exercise exacerbates this imbalance, putting additional stress into the body. So energy imbalance is definitely the first thing that comes to mind when I see some women training and not having a period. The second one is stress hormones. So intense exercise can lead to an increase in stress hormones such as cortisol, and elevated cortisol levels can negatively impact the reproductive hormones, disrupting really the delicate balance necessary for the menstrual cycle. Not to mention that if you're trying to have a baby and the stress hormones are high, all the sex hormones and oxytocins are going to be pretty low, which is counterintuitive if what you want to achieve is actually menstrual cycle restoration and pregnancy. Also, I would like to mention that intense exercise can really impact the stress hormones, but can also impact your gut microbiome and your ion storage. So there are 2 things that really need to be taken into consideration if your hormones have been completely out of whack. The third thing that I would like to touch upon is the low body fat. So excessive exercise, particularly when combined with inadequate caloric intake, can lead to low body fat levels. And low body fat is associated with disruptions in hormonal balance, including a decrease in estrogen, which is crucial for bone health, menstruation, cardiovascular health, mental health. And there are some women that they're still on a normal body, on that kind of safe weight, that are training excessively and have that they present with low body fat, which is why they can still not get their period back, even though it seems like they are doing all the right things. Another big one is the overtraining syndrome. Believe it or not, yes, it's called OTS, which stands for overtraining syndrome. And OTS is characterized by fatigue, decreased performance, and hormonal disturbances. Overtraining syndrome is seen in women, generally athletes or women that are very active in their day-to-day life, and they also have an active social life and they're very active in the forms of exercise, but it's also seen in men, especially runners, marathon runners, triathletes, people that spend lots of time on the bike or the swim continuously. So that's definitely something to take into consideration, and obviously other sports applied, such as gymnastics, for example, volleyball, soccer, you just name it, all the sports. There is also something else that I would like to add, which is my point number 5. Amenorrhea can be an adaptive response. So in some cases, amenorrhea is the response to intense exercise. As an adaptive mechanism, the body perceives the stress of exercise as a threat to survival, and so it sends the resources away from the reproductive functions just to cope with this perceived stressor. So even though you're thinking, why hypothalamic amenorrhea is happening to me, the reality is that hypothalamic amenorrhea is happening for you because it's your body protecting yourself from getting pregnant, for example, or for having more ion or more resources, more energy leaving your body when you're not in the state of taking on board more stress. Another one, and the last point that I really would like to touch upon, is bone health. So amenorrhea, especially when coupled with low body weight and intense exercise, can really contribute to bone loss and increase the risk of osteoporosis. Exercise can worsen the condition. And even though there are lots of women that are still strength training, trying to counteract this problem and and excessive osteoporosis and osteopenia, what normally happens is that if you are exercising while not having a period, that can actually make your osteoporosis a little bit worse. Sorry if I lost my thought for a second. But now I really would like to touch upon the 4 main reasons of why some bodies are more resilient than others. So the first one is severity, the severity of hypothalamic amenorrhea. So there are mild cases versus severe cases, and the severity of HA can vary widely. In mild cases, some women may be able to continue with a modified exercise routine, and severe cases may require complete cessation of intense exercise to allow the body to recover. How do you know in which category you're falling under? So I normally see severe cases in women that haven't had a period for more than 5 years, that have been engaging in disorder behaviors, or that had or still have an eating disorders, or lots of fears around food and their body changing. And also people that are overtraining, or they're not really balancing their training routine with their food intake. The second thing that I would like to touch upon is individual differences. So, and under this umbrella falls the metabolic rate and the stress response. So individuals have different metabolic rates and energy needs. Some women may naturally require more calories to maintain health and support both exercise and reproductive functions. And I know that this can seem unfair, but that's simply our genetics. So it's you can't really choose where you are born from. You can't really choose your ethnicity, your gender. That's a completely separate debate, actually, in 2023. And you cannot choose if you are of color, if you're Caucasian, if you're coming from a different country, and you cannot choose also the financial situations that you were born under. The same way, you cannot choose the metabolic rate, the energy needs that you were born with and that you develop while growing up. And even though it seems unfortunate and not fair, that's simply stating the fact that we are all very different, and we need a variety of bodies and a variety of people in this world to make it as beautiful as it is. The second one is stress response. People respond differently to stress, including exercise-induced stress. Some women may be more resilient to the stress of exercise, and others may be more sensitive. And even moderate exercise can disrupt hormonal balance. So, for example, you have women that can still run every day and have an active menstrual cycle. And then you have women that can only go to Pilates twice a week, and that's about it. And they really needs to be mindful about the exercise output and the caloric intake. So once again, it's not simply to underline that something is fair or not. That's simply the way that you are born, that you have been created, and something that you can play around with. Another big factor, which is factor number 3, is the nutritional status. So the first thing that I would like to consider is the adequate caloric intake. So because that's often a key factor in recovery. So making sure that you're eating enough throughout the days quite consistently. And the other one is nutrient density. So the nutritional quality of the diet matters, because diets rich in essential nutrients support overall health and hormonal balance. There are also women that are getting regular food intake, but it's mainly towards the end of the day, or it's mainly made of food that it's not rich in nutrients. So for example, fish and chips, let's say, or burgers and milkshake, that it may seem to them that they're still getting a high caloric amount of food, but it's not exactly what the body needs to be able to restore a cycle. And then the last thing that I really would like to touch base on is the psychological factors, so which is the perceived stress. The psychological stress associated with exercise can really contribute to hypothalamic amenorrhea. Women who find exercise enjoyable and not overly stressful may be able to incorporate it to some extent during recovery. Women that normally feels that they have to exercise, that if they don't exercise, they're gonna gain weight, but they're really powering through the exercise routine, hoping for the routine to finish as soon as possible, are those ones that are really perceiving exercise stress and may need to take a longer break in order for the period to resume. So bottom line, you cannot choose really the body that you were born with. And as you may understand, that there are a variety of factors that can really contribute to the fact that you can or cannot exercise, and that your body is different from other women's body. There is no point in comparing during the HA recovery process. And I always go back to two things. First of all, is that hypothalamic amenorrhea happens for you. It doesn't happen to you. And just stay in your yoga mat, which is a conversation that we constantly have in the HA community. But I always tell women to stay in their yoga mat so they can feel really steady and they can make decisions that are helpful for their situation and no one else's situation. Okay. And if you're at a point where you really don't know how to move forward because you have implemented already so many changes, you think that you are eating enough, but you're still not seeing results, if you would like to reintroduce some workouts, but you don't feel safe to do it, and you have so many questions around that, I really would like to encourage you to join my team as soon as possible. We may have the opportunity to take just one more woman before the end of the year. Otherwise, it's going to be towards the beginning of next year anyway. I invite you to get in touch with me as soon as possible if that's something that you have been considering, if that's something that you have wanted to do for a long time. Only if I find that you are the right fit, you're going to be invited to join the period comeback protocol. I had a few calls this week with women that they were not the right fit, that I knew deep down that they were not committed to the process, and they were not going to fit in with the HA community, which is why I still had a wonderful call with them, heart-to-heart conversations. But for the life of me, I couldn't invite them inside the period comeback protocol. And I still would love to connect with you, really hear you out, understand which kind of problems you're facing, and understand how I can help you to create a roadmap so that you can get your period back as soon as possible. And even more, if pregnancy is in your card next year, I really encourage you to get in touch sooner rather than later, because every single little bit counts. And if you're in a place where you're wondering, am I eating enough? Am I exercising enough? Am I eating too much? Am I exercising too much? Just work with a professional so that you don't have to spend time Googling the answer, but you can simply get in touch with me, get in touch with my team, and we will let you know from a very honest and caring place what's the best step to take moving forward. I send you all so much love. Thanks so much for being here with me today, and I will see you next week with a conversation with Jacqueline. Bye.